Hi English students, this is Mrs. Peacock, and at this point we need to look at the poetry essay topic sheet. This essentially is going to give you an opportunity to analyze poetry. We're covering 4 poems, but you get to choose your favorite poem to focus on. Then that could be 1 poem, 2 poems, 3 poems. I recommend sticking to 3 at most because otherwise it's going to mess with that 3 body paragraph structure, because remember we are writing 5 paragraph essays, so I definitely recommend focusing on at most 3 poems. And then, of course, if there's just one that you want to focus on, you can write about just 1 poem as well. The rough drafts are going to be due Wednesday, March 20th by midnight in discussions for peer review. And then your final drafts will be due after spring break, which will be Wednesday, April 3rd by midnight in the week 9 content folder. This essay isn't worth nearly as much as that research paper. It is 20% of your final grade. An essay should be at least 800 words in length. That does count your works cited page. For formatting, it's 12 point Times New Roman font with double space and MLA heading and style. It must have a works cited page with the literary works cited, but look on the second page. I've done that for you. You already have the works cited citations done, so just choose the ones that match with the poems you've chosen. So say, for instance, if you choose just How Do I Love Thee, you would only cite How Do I Love Thee, but if you choose 3 poems, you would cite each of the 3 poems. But that does count towards your word count, and I've done those citations for you, and this is your textbook citation. So you're welcome. Also, there's no outside sources for this essay, and I'll explain why. You've already shown me that you can integrate outside sources into your papers with the research paper assignment. I honestly want to know your interpretation of the literature, not what you find online. I much prefer to know what your own unique perspective was on these poems. So I prefer for you not to use any outside sources, and that's why I have it in bold and italics. So make sure you don't use any outside sources. I just want to know what you thought about the poems. Here are some topic ideas to consider, and it also depends on which poem you focus on which topics are going to match best. You could focus on imagery, themes within the poem. Of course, there's many of these that have love within them, so that's a fairly direct one to cover as well, how love is depicted within the poem. How the author's message is or is not relevant today. So, for instance, it could be that you think this type of love is relevant to a modern reader, or if you feel like it's almost an antiquated love that doesn't really match with modern day love. So, depending on your own perspective on that, you could do that as a paragraph. You could focus on settings, symbolism. For symbolism, if you wanted to do 1 poem, you could do 3 symbols as your 3 body paragraphs, or if you want to focus on symbolism within 3 poems, you could have a poem and focus on the symbolism within it, the next poem, that symbolism, and the 3rd poem, symbolism. So really just depending on how you want to structure this, you can make it work for your topic. Also, there's nature within these poems, especially the Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day has a lot of nature imagery. So if you want to focus on how that nature is established. There's also nature in My Last Duchess. They focus on the mule and the seahorse and the taming of nature. And that does work really well with the plot as far as taming her, the Duchess, the My Last Duchess. So you definitely could get into how nature factored into the poem itself. But really just depending on which poem you liked the most and which ones you want to focus on, that's going to establish what those subtopics are going to be. But this week's assignment is to turn in a topic proposal outline for me, so that way I can review the direction you're taking this topic sheet, and I'll give you some directions on if you do need to revise or if you didn't quite understand. Also, don't forget we have a fantastic writing center with tutors who can help tutor you through this as well. So highly recommend using our writing center as a good resource. As always, it's the final draft late submission rule, so that means 10 points off every day late for that final draft. So just make sure you submit your final drafts by April 3rd so you don't have that deduction. And all of your final drafts are going to be graded using the same grading rubric that's on the Getting Started page and will be scanned with anti-plagiarism software. So just make sure you turn in your own original work. Don't be tempted to use online sources or online essays. Also, do not turn in essays from past classes. Definitely make sure you write your own original essay for this assignment. I've got a spot for brainstorming and outlining that you can use as well just to write out some ideas, but just make sure for this week's daily grade that you submit a topic proposal in the discussion board. So that way I can know which topic you've chosen. It also helps give you a guide as you're writing your essay to go ahead and organize your ideas into that thesis, topic sentences, and conclusion sentence. I'm finishing up grading your research papers today, so I should have them finished up by this afternoon. And thanks for your patience on that. I had some other classes that finished some mini term courses that wrapped up, and so I've been frantically grading those essays, but I promise I've got like 4 research papers left, so almost finished with those. Please let me know if you have any questions about this poetry essay or your research paper grade. Of course, I'm here to discuss anything you have questions about. So have a wonderful day and enjoy this beautiful spring weather.